Anyways, hi, I'm Debs. I'll be your host for this month's video, and honestly, I just want to ramble about some of my favorite Japan-exclusive retro games. But before I get into the games, though, I do want to set the stage a bit about just why so many games are exclusive to Japan. I fear people might think, wow, Japan! I'm good at reading scripts. Anyways, and Americans couldn't handle it. It's gotta have like big bouncy anime titties and just be insane! Or whatever the fuck. And honestly, that's just not the case for any of these games. Simply put, localization, it's fucking expensive, especially for the PlayStation games we'll be covering tonight. The sheer amount of text and voice acting in these games, it's insane amounts of work, so shout out to the fan translation scene and whatnot for making these games playable for my silly American brain. Then aside from the translating part, a lot of systems refuse to license any game for America without adding on extra censorship. For example, Nintendo of America refused to license any game on the NES that included any sort of sexually suggestive content, nudity, random or excessive violence, graphic illustrations of death and abuse, excessive force in a sports game beyond what is inherent to the actual sports contact. Yes, that is actually in the guidelines. Any sort of religion or religious symbols, except for Roman mythical gods. Interesting. Any sort of profanity or obscenity that could be offensive to the public. Any reference to drugs, smoking, or alcohol, and lastly, any sort of political message. It's a lot, and as a final blow, still talking about the NES in America, every single game cartridge had to be made by Nintendo of America, and you had to buy thousands of those at minimum, where in Japan you could go third-party, making your own, using your own hardware. This resulted in a lot of games having to be really heavily reprogrammed, going from running on the third-party chips in Japan to the Nintendo of America chips in America. Anyways, I've been yapping, kind of the point of this video. But I think it's time we move on to some of the games, so let's start simple with dun 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 dun. Moon Crystal, what a delightful little hidden gem, developed by Jellico, released in late 1992, also just insanely late for the Famicom by the way, but it's a pretty linear action platformer, nothing mind-blowing here, but like, look at it, the animations, they're so fucking smooth, and the cutscenes look amazing, just incredibly polished game. Also just surprisingly good controls. It's very rare for one of these types of games, with good animations on the Famicom to actually control it well, and you know, Moon Crystal fucking does it. Also, you have a nice little double jump mechanic. It's just good. It's a game I'd very highly recommend. Also, just the boss fights. They're a bit repetitive, though they all require extremely tight movement, and I love them. I love them so much. The game is so good. Please play it. It's not a game that's gonna blow your mind with new ideas or anything, but, you know, it's a late 1992 Famicom game. Very late into the system's life, and in my opinion, this is classic action platforming at its peak. Lastly, the ending. What the fuck? I'm not gonna fully spoil it here, but just what the fuck? You should go check it out, you should. Yeah, you should. Anyways, really polished game. Wanna know a game that's not polished at all? Mark Flint's Fire Rock, developed by Systems.com for the Famicom Disk System, releasing in June 1988. What the fuck? Like, just what the fuck, though? I've played hundreds and hundreds of games, and honestly, Fire Rock is the most confused I've ever been at my own opinion on a game. Like, I've beaten the game, and I just don't know. Like, it controls like shit! You gain so much momentum so quickly, and can just never stop. Also, you bounce around on like every single wall. It's like trying to control a pinball, except it's meant to be like a normal action platformer. That's not to mention the whole wall climbing mechanic and how janky it is. You kind of just clip into everything and sometimes it works. You can get used to the controls though, it's just kind of wild. I don't fucking know Fire Rock. Also by now in the review, you've probably heard the music for a bit. It's a mess. It's chaos, but combine that with the controls and just the whole feel of this game, it kind of works. Fire Rock is like being bonked by 26 inflatable hammers carried by pandas. Like, it doesn't hurt, and you can get used to it, but is it enjoyable? I don't know. You kinda just have to play it to experience it. Honestly, I don't even know what the goal of Fire Rock is. Once again, I have beaten the game, and I'd probably understand what to do if I read the manual, but, you know, Japan exclusive game, so I never learned how to read. I think the goal in each level is to kill the 4 bosses, collect all of these items on screen. I don't fucking know what you would call them, those things. And once you do all of that, you can go through the exit door. Though the exit door also looks like any other door, so good luck finding it. Oh, also, you need to collect most of the meat in a level. This will let you jump higher and progress farther into the level. It's a lot. It's just a lot to do in a single level. And honestly, I don't really know how I did it. I think the only reason I got through the game was in the final level, the game glitched. Rather than killing me like it should have, my health looped around to the highest amount of health that the game could handle. Like... I don't fucking know, I won. So, Fire Rock. What the fuck? You kinda just have to play it. Mizzurna Falls. So, Mizzurna Falls is a lot of things, though it's also nothing. It's a very strange game, released in December 1988 by Human Entertainment for the PS1. Mizzurna Falls, at its core, is just a love letter to small towns in the forest, to the point where the game's director and writer would later move to Canada and become a tour guide for the Canadian Rockies. Now, that's not to say Mizzurna Falls is a simple game. In fact, it's one of the very first open-world 3D games out there, so yeah, 95% of the game is spent wandering around the town, talking to people, driving around the mountains in the snow, as a very nice chill soundtrack plays. Just wonderful atmosphere here. I'd best describe Mizzurna as being just a fantastic depression game, honestly. It's just so cozy to live in, making it honestly just one of my favorite games of all time. Anyways, back on the topic of not being a simple game. Also, skip ahead if you ever want to play this game, major spoilers ahead, so yeah. Mizzurna Falls is a little bit insane. It features a very Twin Peaks-inspired story, first-person shooter sections, stealth sections, car racing sections, a full fighting game system, mild platforming sections, chase sections, and so many inventory object puzzles. Also, once again, Twin Peaks-inspired story. Basically, if it's in Shenmue, it was done first in Mizzurna Falls. Now, that's not to say Mizzurna Falls is a complete masterpiece. It's got a glaring issue that will turn away 95% of players. Put simply, it doesn't have a quest log. It will not hold your hand whatsoever in terms of figuring out where to go. Progression is interesting. Basically, there's multiple plot lines, all starting at different points in the game. To progress a plot line, you'll need to do an action section, or talk to a certain character at a certain time, or find an item and show it to a character. It's all simple stuff all in all, but if you don't progress all of the plot lines, you will get a bad ending, and it's possible to miss timed events with characters, effectively soft-locking that plot line. Now, this will happen a lot as the game does not tell you where you need to go, or just anything of the sort. You kinda just gotta fuck around and hope that you find something at the right point. And since the game has multiple plot lines all happening at once, it's really hard to notice when you've soft-locked a plot line, as other things will still be progressing in the game. Now, that's not to say the game's impossible. The game is meant to be played with a notebook where you physically write down the time and order of events you've triggered. This helps make replaying the game so much easier. Also, really, even if you are on a, and I say this lightly, failed attempt at getting the good ending, you can still run around and figure out really late game shit. There's just always something to find in Mizzurna Falls. Besides, if I'm honest, the progression of the game honestly doesn't matter much. The main point of Mizzurna Falls is just to vibe around, exist in it. You know, depression game. Alright, try not to spoil the plot too much, but yeah, play Mizzurna Falls. I've been yapping a lot, so yeah. And I forgot to mention it, but this game has a really well done English patch. You can find it, honestly, wherever you get English patches, and I would very, very strongly recommend getting that to play the game, cause, yeah, this game will not be possible if you can't read the language whatsoever. So, shout out to the fan translation community once again. Anyways, we should probably talk about another game by now, so yeah. I think we should do that.
Fall from the sky like a stream inside my life. Red light surrounding me, and me with a limber.
I want to talk about something more lighthearted now. So, Dogga Bay, released in the year 2000 for the PS2 by Tamsoft Corporation. I fucking love this game. Also, it's only like an hour long. You have no excuse not to play it, so do it right now. I also forgot to mention it in the Mizzurna review, but that game is like 100 million hours long, so shout out to that. Anyways, what the fuck is Dogga Bay? Well, furries? Dagabe is a rhythm game with a lot going on visually. First off, furries. Kinda hot. Look at this man. Anyways, this whole mess of a UI. I feel the need to explain each part of it because I swear it's not actually that much. First off, those green notes. Those just tell you what notes are coming up a couple seconds ahead from now, and also what side they'll be on. It's mainly just helpful to give you a warning during breaks during the songs. Oh hey, you gotta be ready in a few seconds. It's nothing much, you can honestly fully ignore them and you'll be fine. Then the blue notes, these also serve as a heads up about notes coming up, except this time with a little less warning and they'll tell you exactly where the note will hit. Not just the side, but also if it's an upper or a lower note. Lastly, the gems in the center. Each of these gems is a button. Left side is up and down on the D-pad, right side is circle and X. And when these gems fully light up, that's when you'll need to hit the note. It looks like a lot, I swear it's not. Also, last mechanic I should mention, but also isn't required whatsoever to beat the game, is those pink flying ball shits in the background, whatever the fuck they are. When they hit the max height of their arch, you can push both bumpers on the controller, and if timed perfectly, you will be rewarded with extra points. It isn't needed whatsoever to make progress, it's purely extra points. But, you know, it helps with replay value to give the player a little extra challenge if they want to, like, show off or whatever the fuck. Well, yeah, I can't hide the fact these controls do take a second to get used to. I honestly really like how this game feels. It's a game where you really gotta sit down and get used to it if you want to master it. You can't just go in and instantly know how everything works. You know, you gotta feel it out. You gotta find that rhythm, you know? I like it, yeah. That, and by now, I hope you've heard enough of the soundtrack to understand it completely fucking slaps. I'm not someone who listens to video game soundtracks away from gaming, but for Dagabe, fuck yeah, I'll listen to this. Then, last major thing I want to talk about, the story. I'm not gonna lie to you and pretend it's something fantastic. It's really well done for what it is, but once again, this game is about an hour long, it features a little over 5 minutes of cutscenes, but it follows mild relationship drama and feelings of wanting out of the dead-end bar job. By the way, the whole game takes place in a bar, following its performers. I'm very good at giving context. Can you tell? So, yeah, good game. Just something different, something fresh. Video games, they're kinda cool. I have no complaints about Dagabe. But you know what I miss? I miss the Famicom! And I want to talk about Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti. So, Splatterhouse is a series known for its heavily detailed gore, violence, and how do you make that work for the Famicom? A system that can only handle 3 colors per sprite, and can't handle larger sprites. That's the question Now Productions had to answer in this 1989 game, and their answer, bum 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 bum. Replace the gore with heavy parody work from all things horror. Replace the slow-paced, large, detailed sprites with smaller, faster sprites and gameplay, and just, Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti is what happens when you understand the medium. It plays insanely well, typical action platformer except with lots of boss battles and just such fucking cute art. This whole game just looks so fucking charming. I don't really know what to say about it other than just, it controls well, really fast, it looks really good, it's always doing something new, just insanely fresh game. There's always something happening here, and it's so nice. I feel in the year 2024, there's just something so incredibly refreshing about playing these short, simple games that just try new ideas every couple of minutes. It's not here to take your time or really ask much out of you, it's just here for the fun of it all, and personally, I feel like this is gaming at its peak, honestly. It's just so damn good. Like, I feel the need to just stall in my recording right here. I don't have much to say, but I feel like y'all need more time just to look at these levels. So here's some levels. They're cool. They're good. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them. I just think they're neat. Look at all the little guys. I love them. I love them. Have you seen them yet? Maybe, possibly. But what if you keep looking at them? You know? Do you see the one in the corner? Or the other one? I don't know which levels I'm gonna put there, but you know? There's probably a level near a corner. Okay, also a little side note that affects nothing, but this game's passwords are only 4 characters long, and just anyone who's used a password mechanic will understand that only being 4 characters long is so nice. Like, even the password's well executed. It's just all very well done. I love it. Let's stay with the horror theme, shall we? So, Otogirisou? I probably butchered that forename anyway, sorry, dumb American here. But, yeah, made by Chunsoft for the Super Famicom, releasing in 1992. I'm somewhat stretching the definition of a video game here, but whatever. Otogirisou was marketed as a sound novel, and it's what we call nowadays a visual novel, and it's a really good one at that. Honestly, I'm kind of lost for how to talk about this game. Simply put, there's 10-ish endings, and the whole story will be completely different depending on what choices you make. Characters will have completely different backstories, personalities, motives, and you'll see completely different locations in the horrors of the mansion. This isn't a visual novel where the choices will let you pick between 2 different scenes, and those scenes will end up in the same place. No, if you get a different scene, the entire rest of your story is going to be different. So, yeah, most choices will result in a completely different story. It's kind of insane. You simply kind of just have to play it, as your experience will be different than mine. But what I can say here is the vibes are just extremely well done. Very, very well done backgrounds, good use of atmospheric noise, really well done writing. Honestly, I think some of these endings might just be some of my favorite horror novel endings ever. Others kinda miss, but that's besides the point. The majority of them are very well done. Like, if you have any desire whatsoever in horror sound novels, this is a must-play. And if it isn't clear by now, this is another game like Mizzurna Falls with the absolutely amazing English fan translation. Massive props to them for translating a whole ass book and then some. Just incredible job by everyone here. Continuing to talk about story-based games, Planet Laika, made by Quintet and Zweek. I honestly don't know how you pronounce that second company's name. They only worked on 2 games partially before going under. There's very little information about them, so we're just going with Zweek, or Zeke, something. Anyways, Planet Laika's for the PS1 and also released in October 1999. Planet Laika, So first off, we need to get it out of the way. Yes, this game follows a group of dog people on a mission to Mars where they encounter a hallucinogenic fog, and the game's main combat system is a modified version of Pong. It's strange, wacky, and maybe even cray-cray. But if you can take the game seriously, you'll find so much more. I'll try not to spoil the plot completely, but it's just so good. So fucking good, like all the games on this list. But honestly, I think I'm just gonna list off things the plot handles to give you an idea where it's at. It deals with dissociative identity disorder, childhood trauma, PTSD, abuse recovery, ideas of good and evil, and just a million mindfucks along the way of just what's real and what's not. Pair all of that with a fantastic soundtrack and you have some of the best story writing on the PS1 there is, in my opinion. Play it. It's so cool. It's so fucking cool. I love it. I wish I could say more about it. Like, I can't. It sucks. Sadly, the one thing I really am allowed to talk about without spoiling the entire game is just the flow of it all. I feel like it could have used some work. While it's not bad, the game does try to flow like a JRPG. Just, it has 95% plot and 5% actual battles. And what this also means is you have to walk around to different locations and to different characters to try and progress the plot. And during this walk between plot points, it's extremely easy to get lost, or just not know who to talk to next. There are so many points in the game where I ended up just talking to everyone in the town trying to find out who would actually progress the game. Luckily though, the game is pretty small in scale, and talking to everyone really doesn't take that long, but it's just a nitpick I have with the game. But really, Planet Laika. I borderline want to like strangle the microphone and be like, just play it, look at it. It's not that long. It takes like, what, 7 hours? I think my first playthrough was something like that. Like, you can handle it. You can do it. Do it. Please. Amazing. Such good game. Also, I just love PS1 graphics. I do. It's just so good. And also, per usual, the fan translation fucking slaps. It always does, but yeah, good game. Laika's a lot, if you've played it, so let's just sit here in this PS1 underwater tunnel, alright? This is nice. Yeah. Anyways, this is
Iblard Laputa no kaeru machi.
And thank you, Google, for saying that for me, because there was just no hope for me to say that. No hope at all. But it's neat. There's honestly not much here. It's an October 1997 PS1 game made by System Satcom, based on the artwork by...
井上直久
Thank you, Google. It's a very simple game, basically just a walking sim around early 3D graphics and environments, such as this underwater tunnel. It's so good, it's so good. Now, there is a little bit more to the game just to keep it interesting. There's some light platforming here and there. There's also some just neat little ideas around here, like brushing away these sleeping elephants, and stuff like that. It's so many good vibes. Very good vibes. Very pretty art, very nice music, and really, can we just sit under the underwater tunnel some more? Can we just sit here some more? Thank you. This is the life. Chill game, pretty short, would recommend. Fishy. It's cool. Vibes. You know what else has vibes? Planet Daub! So can we just take another moment to just stop and look at this game? It's just so fucking strong in the vibes department. While
Iblard
No Tam of Wind and Mizzurna Falls are all very comfy games in their vibes, Planet Daub is just cool as fuck. And the sound design, it's so nice. Like, every single action you do in this game has, like, its own effects on the sound. Like, I know it's very simple stuff, but, like, just look at this. Maybe I'm just easily won over, but just everything this game does is just so cool. Anyways, I got ahead of myself. If you're wondering, Planet Daub was released in November 1999 for the PS1, developed by Microvision and members of the band Date of Birth. Also, yes, this game does feature multiple songs from Date of Birth albums. Also, that's why the game is called Daub, Date of Birth. Get it? And if it's not clear by now, this whole game is just what happens when you let musicians and art people in general make their own game with a shockingly high budget. Now, is it good? If I'm honest, and talking about it as a game, it's probably far too easy. It's an adventure game with multiple minigames tagged onto it. The plot is simple enough, the world is ran by a central computer and it's lost all of its bits. So you gotta go around the world and bring the bits back to the computer. You do this by walking around the world, doing minigames, collecting items, and using those items when they flash on the screen. It's really simple stuff. However, you may have noticed by now, this game doesn't have an English translation, and it does have a lot of text. So, honestly, if the game was any sort of difficult, it would probably be unplayable to figure out what you're meant to do. However, as the gameplay loop is extremely simple, it just works. It does. It's fantastic. I really like this game, honestly. I'm shocked this game doesn't get talked about more. But, yeah, I love it. Alright, we've been talking about vibe games too much lately, so let's talk about a harder game, Umihara Kawase. So we're back to my favorite game genre, the platformer, and it's an interesting one at that. So, you got a fishing rod, and a physics engine, and things get fucked up. This game's difficult. It's not fucked up plot-wise, it's just the design of it all. A part of why this game is so hard is because you don't have any continues. This is a game where you will have to beat it with just, you know, a handful of lives. But it's really well done. The game also features multiple routes to keep it fresh and interesting on repeat playthroughs. Depending on what exit doors you take when leaving each level, there's 4 different endings, 6 bosses, and really just a lot of death. A lot. There really is nothing that feels quite like it, and it feels really good. Once you figure out how to launch yourself with the fishing rod, just holy shit, you can go flying. It's cray-cray. I think I've used the word cray-cray more in this video than I have anywhere else in my life. Sorry. Anyways, if you're wondering, this game was made by TNN for the Super Famicom in 1994. Also, just what else is there to say? Video games, cool. But really, I can't stress enough how fucked up some of these levels are. Just, like, look at this shit. How the fuck do you do that? But it's a classic game. Very highly recommend. Like everything in this video, honestly. But, yeah. On a final note, the graphics, they're just so good. I love this era of Super Famicom stuff where they just, it's so stylized and it's still pixel art and it works. It's cool. It's really cool. Yeah, but yeah, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. It felt nice to just finally make a retro game video where I'm not hating half the games I'm playing for once. Just, you know, good vibes all around. Hope you felt it. Also, sorry for this video being shorter than my usual gaming-related stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't decide what my follow-up video to the Super CD one should be, and yeah. It ended up with this video starting production about 2 weeks late. And with a schedule of monthly videos, yeah, sections definitely got cut out of this due to lack of time. However, honestly, I feel this video might be better with the games I'm less interested in being cut out. Something like that. Anyways, I'm rambling, so yeah, you know, thank you for stopping by. New video out soonish. Take care, and sleep well. Peace, everyone.